Hello and welcome to the Peaceful Empowerment Work Show. We are coming to you live on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. I am your co-host Judy Forder, and I am here with my co-host in peace, Miss
Kris Burke. Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Before we get started, if you feel guided to, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to help us spread the word that peaceful empowerment truly does work.
Yeah.
Our topic for today, your relationship with your body, friend or foe. And yes, there we go. I was going to read the whole legal disclaimer. There we go. Nothing discussed today constitutes legal, financial, or medical advice. Should you seek legal, financial, or medical advice, consult a professional in that specific field directly. I feel like
Indeed.
now we can begin.
Indeed. we just had a little bit of a tornado here with kind of one thing after another. So we're going to show you right now how peaceful empowerment works. So everything starts going a little like, wait, what? I just got shut out and was gone at exactly 11 o'clock when we're supposed to be starting. So this is where we just come in and we're just going to invite you to sit with us, and we're going to call in the peace, and we're just going to let go of anything else that was popping up, because you do not want to watch us do a show when we're in zone one. Nobody wants to see that.
Absolutely not.
So this is a really exciting show. I start talking about your body. I can hear the groans and feel the groans in the collective, like, oh, my body. We all have these lists of things that we don't like about it. And what's interesting about this is when we say, is your body friend or foe? What's the list of things that you love about your body, that you really appreciate, that just make you feel like, it's the cat's meow? And what are those things that you wish were different? For most of us, the list of things that we wish were different is just more readily available.
Always. Always more readily available.
Right. I have my way of saying it. What's your way of saying readily available, Judy?
Oh, Jesus. As soon as the question is asked, what do I not like about my body? Bam! It's like a fucking billboard. Boom! Yeah. Oh, where do you want to start?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you like about your body? Crickets? Well,
yeah.
I got nice thick hair. The eyes, they're my mother's eyes. So, okay, I'll go with that.
Yeah. This is the thing, isn't it? That we do immediately. And if you think about, what we're exposed to in terms of, where we get these ideas that our bodies are unacceptable, I immediately see myself sitting in front of a commercial many years ago where they introduced the idea that having toenail fungus was, similar to being an axe murderer. Like the energy of that was like, oh my God, you have something so shameful as toenail fungus. How are you going to hide this from the world? And I thought, wow, we're getting a little out of control about this whole body shaming thing, aren't we? I'm not saying that that I want a lot of toenail fungus, but our bodies are responsible for so much. I mean, no body, no experience, folks. Right? First of all, if your body's not working, you're not having an experience here in this dimension. And if your body's not working well, you don't have quality of experience. You're not enjoying being here. So this body is really a big deal. And what it does in a day is mind-blowing. The recreation of cells, the fighting off of cancer. I don't know if people know, but we have cancer cells every day. And we've got cells in our immune system whose only job is to go around and say, ha, and blast those things out of there. They've got 5 different mechanisms for doing that, and they do it 24/7, never go on holiday, right? So we're growing hair, we're growing nails, we're digesting food, we're pulling the nutrients out, we're sending messages to the brain and the stomach and the heart about what we need. It's your heart is beating, energy is being provided. It's endless what our bodies do for us. And so this is kind of one of those perspective shifts where we say, really? And we're going to pick on it about the one thing we wish it did differently?
Well, we take it for granted until it doesn't work the way it's supposed to. And it's
Yeah.
funny because I've shared before that I'm a PE teacher. I was a PE teacher in my first life. And it was
This life.
what was that?
This life.
And earlier on.
Yeah.
I taught for 24 years and now I'm done. But anyway, it was always interesting to me because I had to work very hard to be a decent athlete. So being the PE teacher, breaking down the skills and teaching the progression was very natural for me.
Mm.
And then, I knew people that were Division I athletes that were terrible coaches because they couldn't break down the skill. It came natural.
Right.
It wasn't something they had to think about. And when you think about your relationship with your body, those things that just happen all the time and work the way they're supposed to work, we don't think about. The
Yeah.
fact that, I told you I could give you a long list of things I hate, but the fact that I am healthy, I am almost a 53-year-old woman that does not take any medication. I've been told I should take vitamins and supplements. I don't do that. And by the grace of God, I'm healthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
I myself get wrapped up in that good, bad, ego-centered. What am I supposed to like about my body? What am I not supposed to like about my body?
right. Right. Exactly. And all the things that work every day, all of the things in our lives that work, our bodies that work, the sun and the rain and things growing and our animals and the people that we love, all of those things that are just working, we tend to just be like, oh, it's just working. And if one,
But-
right? I mean, if one little thing, I can hear myself now saying like, oh, I've got a hangnail, right? And it's like, it's okay to notice that there's something going on, but in the context of the universe of all of the things that are working so beautifully in my world, to choose to focus on the one thing or the two things that I think aren't working, that's a choice that was typically not conscious for me. And yet it was still a choice that was happening where I was putting myself in zone one or zone two. And I'm going to tell the story. I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell the story about when I was in high school. I struggled with my weight because I did not like the size and shape of my body, unlike most high school people, right? Because in high school we all love our bodies in high school. So I didn't like mine, and I was about 50 pounds heavier than I am now. And I just absolutely despised everything about my body, hated it, and just thought that if I just could lose the weight, that I would be a different person, that I would be happy, that all of a sudden I would magically know my purpose in life. I would find my path. I would find my mate. It was all about if my body were just different, then all of these other things would be different too. And I struggled and yo-yo dieted and exercised and tortured myself and my body. Really was not nice. I mean, talk about faux. Really in conflict with my body, trying to get it to do what I wanted it to do because I knew better. And that went on until I was married and we got pregnant with our first child. And all of a sudden, I started thinking about the fact that my body was making an entire human being from scratch. Right. And I would say that to people in my friends, my family members, and they would look at me like, everybody does that. Like, it's not that big a deal. And I was like, no, it is. I'm not saying it's a big deal because I'm doing it and I don't think everybody else is. I'm saying it's a big deal because look at what our bodies are capable of doing. If my body can make an entire human being from scratch, then probably it knows a little bit more than I do about things body related. Right? And so my relationship shifted. I stopped seeing my body as this horrible thing that was forcing me to live in this, unacceptable state that was ruining my life. And instead, I started seeing it as this, like, I don't know, wizard. I mean, just as this miracle, frankly, as the miracle that it is, the
Mhm.
miracle of life that it is. And I started to respect it and treat it with kindness. And I became curious about it. And by the time my son was born, I was at my, I don't like to say ideal weight, but I was at a very happy weight. During the course of my pregnancy, I naturally started listening to my body and saying, "What do you think we ought to eat today?"
Mhm.
Right? Because this body that was able to make a human probably knows what nutrients I need during the day, probably knows how much sleep I need. And I realized as if, for the first time that your body actually tells you when you're tired. It tells you when you're thirsty, it tells you when you're hungry, even tells you what you're hungry for. It tells you when you need to stretch or move. And if you really listen to it, you can go through your day in a pretty nice, balanced, comfortable relationship.
Now, the question that I'm hearing is, how do you know that it's your body giving the answer and not ego? Because I would eat French fries 24/7 if it was up to my ego.
Yeah, what's really interesting is there's a different quality of listening, and that's a great segue. You really have to be in zone three, right? You really have to be in that curiosity place where you're really listening and you're not taking instruction. You're listening to the nudges, right? You're the knowing, the intuition. There's a different quality to that. Intuition doesn't say, you have to do this or you're really bad and I'm going to tell everybody and I'm never going to let you rest, right? It's not bossy.
Mhm.
Intuition isn't bossy, it never judges, right? So this is a big one about, am I if I'm going to eat french fries, um and I'm in zone 3, I'm just enjoying the fries. And when I've had enough, I'm going to stop eating them. If I'm in zone 1 or 2 and I'm eating fries and I'm telling myself I shouldn't be eating fries, I'm bad because I eat the fries. Like if I'm putting some judgment on there, then
Mhm.
I'm going to be in conflict and I'm not going to enjoy what I'm doing because there's going to be a war going on. We're going to be in that battleground,
Mhm.
right? So in the battleground, we can't hear those subtle um, messages from our bodies when they say, had enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Or when you finish eating the fries, then you beat yourself up. It's good while you're eating. And then when you're done, it's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'm
Yeah,
terrible. Fell off the wagon.
exactly. Because there's this whole idea of good and bad,
Mhm.
right? Like, I'm good if I eat this, I'm bad if I eat that.
Yep.
And of course, I mean, that's the society we live in. We love our good and bad stuff. We love our crime and punishment. We love to see the flaws, especially in other people, and and then want to punish them for it in some way. That's the society that we've been living. It's just how we've evolved.
I was gonna
Well,
say we were born into it. The universal beliefs that there's good and evil. There's good and bad.
right,
And
right.
that's what we've been that's what we grew up in. It's happened thousands of years. That's what it's been.
Yes.
And what we do here is we help promote and support the idea that we have choices to choose something different.
Hmm. Yeah, we
And when we talk about your relationship with your body, it doesn't it absolutely doesn't solely have to do with weight. My brother has worked hard with his hands and his body his entire life, and now he feels betrayed by his body because he's having trouble physically,
right.
and I do my best to speak to him and praise what he does and tell him that it's about honoring what his body can do because he likes to joke. He rode it hard and put it away wet. He did not take care of himself. And now he feels like he's being punished for it. He's
Right.
suffering for not caring for his body. And it was a lot of things like we were talking about earlier that he took for granted. He's
Hmm.
very, I mean, he's got this amazing mind where he can look at something and take it apart, figure out why it's not working, fix it and put it back together. Well, that's something he takes for granted. He thinks everybody can do that,
Right.
and they can't. And not only does he have the mind that can do it, he has the hands that can execute it.
Right.
And his hands aren't working like they used to. And,
Hmm.
he's struggling with that.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's all kinds of things that we talk to. Well, a lot of people have come to our classes. We're having trouble sleeping.
Hmm.
We've had people with back pain, with what's the nerve issues, with lots of physical things that were going on. I used to have bleeding ulcers.
Sorry, sciatica. It just came to
Yeah.
me.
Thank you. Thank you. That's exactly right. Um, I used to have um, bleeding ulcers and panic attacks, right? Those were experiences that were happening in my body. When my body and I were in conflict, my body would tell me that. It would express the conflict not to hurt me, not to punish me, but so that I could become aware that we were not in harmony. We were not in peace,
Mhm.
right? Yeah.
Chronic illness. Yeah.
Chronic illness. Yeah, there is no, I've done a lot of research on this topic. Um, there really aren't diseases that can't be cured with um, if we can work to restore the peace and love in our environment. Now, does that mean everybody's meant to? I don't know. I don't have any way of knowing that. But I do know that a lot of people who had chronic illnesses, terminal illnesses, who learned to love themselves, genuinely love themselves, who healed.
Mhm.
Miracles occurred. And in our experience, and also from the research, it appears that when we create an environment of peace and love, of unconditional love, that miracles can happen and do.
Mhm.
And that, in fact, we might say that we're living a miracle every day and we're just not noticing it.
Yes. I'm realizing that more and more.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And let's bring up our compass. And Judy, why don't you want to introduce us to the compass?
Sure. I love the compass.
I know.
Okay. So this is the Masterful U compass and energy scale. And when we use this in class and in workshops, we explain it as it's very similar to a pain scale when you go to the doctor or in the hospital. Um, we go from 0 to 10. So 0 is an energy level of I just can't. I can't today. Nothing's working. The world is against me. Everyone is against me. I can't. I can't human today. To 5 is like neutral, like, shit is the way it is, but I'm working to get through the day. Things are going pretty good and I'm figuring things out. To 10, life is amazing. Everything I look at is a pure miracle. And I am so happy to be here experiencing life on earth at this time. And every moment is a blessing.
Mhm.
So when we work with this tool in class, today we're talking about our relationship with our body. So when you think about your relationship with your body, we would ask you just to pause for a moment, take a couple deep breaths, and do your best to silent your mind and think about how you feel about your physical form, about your body. And then we'd ask you to give us a number. And whatever number comes first, whatever number comes to mind, trust it that that's where you are. And that's how we use our energy scale. And then what we do is talk about what it feels like to be at the energy that you're at. What do you think? What do you feel? What are you doing? And then what we do from there is we talk about where you would like to be on the energy scale. And what do you think it will look like? What do you think it will feel like? What will you do? What will you think? What will you feel when you're at that energy level? So that we can take where you are, where you would like to go, and that leads us to the next place where, okay, well, what's getting in the way?
Right.
Because, like Kris was saying earlier, where there is conflict, there can be no peace. So there is something in there that's causing that conflict. And when we can identify what that is, then you know how to move further up the scale to get to where you want to be. Because you have the choice. Are you going to sit in that belief? Or are you going to choose something different?
Yeah, exactly. The think, feel, do patterns for each of these zones, and we've talked about this in other shows on the map, right? These are the same zones that are in our map, just presented a little bit differently.
Mm-hmm.
The think, feel, do patterns in each of these zones create an experience, right? And that experience is going to attract what it attracts in our lives. So, well being, like genuine well being, going with the flow, enjoying yourself, feeling at peace, all of that is happening on the upper end of that scale. When you're at 5 and above, you're creating an environment where your thoughts and your feelings and the actions that you naturally take, not your controlled actions. It's not me trying to control what I do so that I can be better. It's me holding the space of recognizing the miracle that my body is, being whatever height it is or whatever hair color I have, or whatever these things are, being exactly as it is a miracle. And if I align with that miracle, then I can enjoy health and I can express myself in the world in a way that helps others, that makes a positive contribution, and creates more joy and love. It's a
Absolutely.
pretty good recipe.
Yes, because the way I see it is zone 1 and zone 2 are all ego based. It's all ego telling us that we need to fit in a box, or we're not this or we're not that, and you need to do this to get to that. Zone 2 is like, oh my gosh, I have this new workout plan and I have this new eating, and you have to, you have to, you have to, you have to.
Right.
If you're working out, forcing yourself to work out, that's a conflict. So
Yes.
in zone 1 and zone 2, there's still conflict. Whereas zone 3 and zone 4, I feel like is where I start asking, okay, what is it what would you like to eat today? What do I want to wear today? Tell me, tell me what is for my highest and greatest good. And then
Yeah.
trusting that whatever I get is what I do, because when we're at that vibration of trusting that all that we know and all that we need is already within us, and we ask those questions, the answers come.
Mhm.
It's ego that has us believing that everything we need is out here.
Right.
And we've said in shows before, the only truth that we can trust right now is the truth from within, because it's our truth,
Mhm.
and it never guides you wrong. It will
That's right.
always do what is for your highest and greatest good. It may not seem like it in the moment, because it may feel uncomfortable and difficult, but it's taking you to another place.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And when you get to a place that you've kind of reestablished yourself in zone 3 and zone 4 energy, so that's where you're living, you will pretty instantly know when somebody says something or a thought pops up in your head. You'll know whether it's true or not. You can feel it.
Mhm.
Somebody will say something, even something, horrible. Like I heard that something terrible had happened to somebody in my family the other day. And I heard it and I thought, I wonder why I'm not like the least bit emotional about that. And it turned out because it wasn't true. There was no energy behind it. I didn't feel any emotion because it wasn't true. It just kind of went puff, like the smoke that we talk about, right?
Hmm.
So actually, maybe you've learned muscle testing, but maybe you haven't. So muscle testing is something you can do when you're working the process and you're not sure if you're in zone 3, zone 4 energy. If you want to know if something is true, you can hold your fingers together like this and ask yourself a question. You can say, I can ask the question I have in mind, and then you pull. And if your fingers stay together, that's a go ahead. You can ask that. And then if you ask the question and say, is it sunny today? And you do this, it'll hold together. There's power. There's a natural power or energy in the truth, and it will amplify your body. It will give you strength, right? And if I now ask, is it raining today? There's no resistance, and you should actually say it as a statement. It is raining today, not as a question. It is raining today. I can't hold it even if I want to, because there's no strength to lies or untruths is another way of saying it. Because I wasn't really lying. It's just not true. So there's no strength to it.
No, and I'm also hearing that, not only is it like a lie detector, but it's also when you're open to shifting your beliefs and believing something new.
Yes.
Because when we're shifting from zone 2 to zone 3, it means our heart and our minds are open. So where I once used to feel that, maybe my hands are too small. I mean, it's it's crazy, but maybe, your hands are too small and they're good for nothing. Well, is that true? Are my hands too small and good for nothing? So it's any question that you can ask, because, we're talking specifically about your relationship with your body. So as you take your list of things that you don't like about yourself, you know, is this list real? Are these truly my beliefs, or is this influenced by, the universal consciousness?
Right.
Do I truly believe this about my body?
Right.
Because um, it's funny, early on in my journey, I was told you are God individualized and God loves to be you.
Mhm.
And whether you believe in God, the higher power, whatever it is you call life force, energy, consciousness, that was something that has always carried me through, because when I hear that again in my head, I think God doesn't make junk.
Yeah, that's right.
God doesn't make junk. So, and I strive to love myself as God loves me.
Yes.
And that's important.
Mhm.
The creator created us. We are one. So am I saying God's too fat? Am I
Right.
saying God's too dumb? Am I saying the creator is an idiot?
Mhm.
That's
Exactly right. Made a mistake, right?
exactly.
Divine energy screwed up.
Yeah, so we've talked about this before. As soon as we can allow ourselves to embrace the fact that we don't know everything. We don't know everything
Mhm.
because we don't.
Right.
It's okay. When we ask and trust the intuition, we get the answers. That's not a lazy way of working.
No.
It's trusting the guidance. So when you're working on your relationship with your body, ask the questions. Is this true? Is this true today? And some
Mhm.
days it might be,
Mhm.
because some days ego is louder than soul.
Yeah.
But pause and make that, remember you have a choice. Are we going to let this be the belief that I have in this moment? Yes or no?
Right. And then bringing ourselves back to that scale, and it looks like we need to take a break. So when we come back, we'll talk about coming back to the scale and a different question to ask yourself instead of judging yourself.
Perfect.
Hi, I'm John Thomas. I want to share with you a professional products and services directory we call Going Solo Directory. And you need to check this out. If you want exposure to your business or are seeking professional product or services, this directory has it all. And that membership, for the many special features, you get the benefit of a worldwide exposure with a 40-minute video interview on an international business show showcase. All this for just one low annual fee. For more information, contact GoingSoloDirectory.com.
Welcome back to the Peaceful Empowerment Work Show, where we are talking about your relationship with your body, friend or foe.
Yeah, friend or foe.
Or-
And what a difference it makes. It's the way we think about our bodies that creates the feelings that we have about it, that create the actions that automatically happen. Because as much as we would like to think that we choose each action that we take, that we're making conscious choices about our behaviors, most of us know that we don't, that we take actions and then we wonder why we did something. Or we try to defend why we did something, right? Why we made a choice to do something. We made a promise to ourselves that we were going to get up at 4 a.m. to get this book written finally, or whatever the thing is. And, we get up 2 mornings in a row and then we start hitting the snooze. And then by the end of the week, we're not even setting the alarm anymore. We give up. Every New Year's resolution is basically that for most of us, right? We start out saying, I'm going to do this, but then we don't, because we have different behaviors that are happening. And in the beginning, we try to fight them. We try to overpower them. But if we don't get to the root of why those behaviors are happening to begin with, we're just putting ourselves in a futile battle that's going to exhaust us. And eventually we're going to lose, because the unconscious mind has infinite resources compared to the conscious part of you, the willpower part that's trying to do battle with it.
Well, yes. Last week we talked about the battlefield versus the oasis. And once you make the decision to step off the battlefield, it becomes that much more clear. Because once you spend time in the oasis, it's where you want to be.
Yes.
It's where you want to be. So you begin to pause and ask the questions and realize that choices are being made in the subconscious coming forward. When we pause, it allows that time. Okay, did I make this decision for myself consciously, or was this a response?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I can remember, not 2 weeks ago, something happened. Technology sets me off. And Kris is a tech wizard. Technology sets me off. When it works, great. When it doesn't, I lose my mind, because it is not something I am strong with. I don't have a lot of knowledge of it, and blah, 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 blah. It was hilarious now that I'm thinking about it, because it wasn't working, and it went into the subconscious tirade of, what a freaking idiot you are. Why are you so dumb? You're so innate. Blah, 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 blah. And then, as I'm spewing all this stuff, I'm laughing on the inside, like, really? We're still going to do this? After all the work you've done, you're still doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. It takes time, and that awareness to be there, to be present and watch your temper tantrum. We'll call it that. We all throw them, right?
Yes.
Or I call it my wet hornet. The hornet is just like just buzzing around, mad and angry, and making a lot of noise, right? And a little scary, but not so much, because it's just a hornet. But there's something about being able to be present for that that's life changing, because in that moment, let's say that I got up at whatever time. I got up a little bit late. I could start my day saying, oh, I got up late, I overslept. And that could start a whole thing about, I'm bad, I'm running late, I procrastinated anyway. Now look at the mess I'm in. I'm gonna have a bad day. I forecast the whole thing that's just gonna be a nightmare and I'm beating up on myself. Or I could say, I wonder what that was about. Instantly, I put myself into a different frame where I think maybe I needed some extra sleep. Maybe there was an accident that was going to happen on the highway and I avoided it by this happening. Maybe, whatever. The point is, we don't know, but we don't have to argue with what is. We can actually just be curious about it and go with the flow. And if getting up late, if I really believe that getting up late today set me up for a terrible day, then I might ask myself, what might I do so that it's easier to get up tomorrow?
Mhm. Well, and just as you were saying that, it's moving from judgment to a place of curiosity.
Yes, that's right. So it's going from zone 1 or 2, which is zone 1, we're just going to beat ourselves up. More evidence that I'm flawed, fundamentally flawed, right? Which is going to stick us in instinct, which is going to mean we're just going to run the family patterns. We have no choice. When we get to zone 2, now we're mad about having these family patterns and we're going to control it, darn it. We're going to get our control over this. But now we're really thinking that the little wet hornet can control the universe,
Right.
that it knows enough to control the universe, which can get us in a lot of trouble, right? It puts us in conflict with our bodies, with other people, in our relationships, just with the universe, with life. When we get to zone 3, and we start doing the curious thing, like, I wonder, we don't necessarily get the answer, but we're not beating ourselves up. So we're not creating an energy that's going to perpetuate the horrible things that we're thinking when we're thinking and feeling when we're in zone 1 and 2. So we're just giving ourselves a chance to be at one with nature, with the other people, to recognize that we're all human and, well, life can be messy. So maybe we can just stop beating ourselves and one another up about life being the way it is and find that curiosity and compassion. Have compassion for yourself. Being human in this world, it's tricky.
That's a very nice way to put it. It is tricky.
I do go for the nice way, right? I do.
Yes.
I try the nice way, and then Judy's like, what she's really saying.
It can be rather suckish.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's hard for everybody. And I think this is one of the key points to all of this work is that in our cultures, we tend to believe that if we only something, if I was the right size and shape, if I were taller, if I were, if I were a man because they have all the power. I mean, whatever these stories are that we tell ourselves, if I had more money, if I had a better job, if I had a degree, whatever those things are, we tend to think that people in that position are just automatically happy. And what we're saying to you here is that life is hard for everybody. Everybody's got their stuff. Everybody has to navigate zone 1 and zone 2. And if they decide to get to zone 3, which then means liberating themselves from all of the stuff that they gathered growing up in their family and this society in zones 1 and 2. Every single human has to go through that process. Nobody gets a free ride on that. And when you go through that process, if you choose to, and you get yourself firmly established in zones 3 and 4, your life actually starts to work for you and you're happy, but the joy and the peace come first.
And it all comes from within. There is nothing external. Everything you need, you already have within you.
Yeah.
It is there. That's why, if you're at conflict with your body, the physical form, if you're at conflict with that, then the illness remains. The weight either stays on or won't come on. I mean, I know people that struggle to gain weight.
Right.
The sleepless nights continue. The fatigue continues. If you're experiencing these things, ask where the conflict is.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we can resolve the conflict, it brings peace.
Yes. And a body at peace looks at peace and feels at peace,
Yes.
because that's the truth, right? Your body's always going to express the truth of what you're thinking and feeling.
Yes.
And we
Absolutely.
love Louise Hay's book, actually, You Can Heal Your Body. Highly recommend that. So when I sprain an ankle or, hurt a finger or something, I instantly run for the book and say, what's this telling me? What's this a symbol of? And it doesn't mean that I automatically take, I don't use it like a Bible. I use it as a reference, and I'll say, does that feel right to me? Does that resonate with me? Then I hand it over to my intuition and say, intuition, what do you think?
And that's the thing right there. That you're questioning right there. You're not asking, is this good or bad? You're asking, how does this feel to me?
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's really important.
Yeah.
No matter what's coming across your plate, it's not, release the judgment of it being good or bad and ask yourself, how does this feel to me? Does this feel true to me, or does something feel off?
Yeah.
Because again, everything you need to know, you already hold within. And when we trust our intuition, we trust the guidance of a higher power that knows a heck of a lot more than we do.
Mm-hmm.
Things tend to flow easily.
Yeah. Yeah, they really do. And we've come to the end of our time. I know. It makes me sad because I feel like we're just getting started.
I know.
Thanks everybody for being here with us today. We can feel your energy. We can feel your support. We appreciate your comments and your likes, and and any feedback that you have about making the show more helpful to you, please let us know, because that is why we're here.
Yes. Remember, you can find us at www.masterfulu.com, www.masterfulu.com. And if you haven't gotten your map yet, make sure you get your map at www.masterfulu.com/get-your-map.
Yes, absolutely. All right.
There's
There's
engagement.
more.
CC. There are 3 levels of engagement. You can continue to watch the show, listen to the show. We have workshops, actually one coming up next Monday from 7 to 9 Eastern Standard Time, and Tuesday, August 15th, 12 to 2. And you can find them again at masterfulu.com. So the workshops, and then we also have a 12-week program that you can enroll. So Cece, thank you so much for keeping us on top of those things. We appreciate you.
Yeah, we do.
And we look forward to reading comments and seeing you all again next week.
Yeah.
This
Thanks,
is the
everybody.
People Empowerment Work Show. Thank you so much.